ओम ज्ञानतिमिरन्दस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरोन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपा कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातां सहगणा रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनासहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपादान् सहगणा ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च। हे कृष्णा करुणा सिन्धु दीनबन्धु जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिकान्त राधाकान्त नमोऽस्तुते। तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामी नित्यनामिने। नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देश तारिणी। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासदि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। Hare Krishna, welcome everyone to our Bhagavatam class. So we are discussing the second canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, and today we'll take the 8th chapter of the second canto. So far we have discussed in the 7th chapter, Suta Goswami and Shaunakadi Rishis, they are having a conversation, and in that Parikshit and Shukdev Samvad is going on. So Shukdev Goswami, he describes that the questions which Parikshit Maharaj has asked him, the same questions were asked by Narad Muni to Brahmaji. And Brahmaji, in response to those questions, he explained the various Purushavataras, the various pastimes of creation, how this universe was created. And then he said, okay, I have described to you whatever you have asked, but I'll tell you whatever I like to hear. And he describes about the Leela Avataras, because they are very, very attractive. Supeshan. So that is the verse which says, they are very, very attractive. They are worshipped and relished by the sages, and they are worth hearing. So after that, Shukdeva Goswami, Brahmaji, he told Narad Muni, now you have heard enough. Now you go and please preach these glories of Supreme Personality. That is the duty of every devotee, to go and preach. So after this, we'll begin with the 8th chapter today, where Parikshit Maharaj now inquires. Naturally, if Brahmaji tells Narad Muni, you go and preach. So next question would be what? Kahan preaching here? Where all Brahmaji went and preached this message. So that is the first question which Parikshit Maharaj is asking to Shukdeva Goswami. And he says, please speak about the Narad Muni's various preaching exploits. So Srila Prabhupada, he focuses on the parampara. The knowledge should be received in parampara. We should not hear from anyone. Otherwise, the knowledge loses its potency. So in Bhagavatam, whoever is speaking, it is Krishna who is speaking. So in the 12th canto, there is a verse which says, Kasmai yena vibhashitoya matulo jnana pradipa pura tadarupena chanaradaya munaya krishnaya tadarupena. So he says, when Brahmaji, he heard from the Supreme Personality, he spoke to Narada. So Krishna was speaking in the form of Brahmaji. When Narad Muni spoke to Vyasadev, Krishna was speaking in the form of Narad. When Vyasadev spoke to Shukdev, Krishna was speaking in the form of Vyasadev. And when Shukdev is speaking to Parikshit Maharaj, it is Krishna who is speaking. So there is a famous pastime. One time, one reporter came to Prabhupada and he was talking and he was asking, Swamiji, how did you get inspiration to write these books? So Prabhupada said, no, I have not written. Krishna has written. So reporter was confused. Western person, Krishna, how come God comes? So there was one disciple who was standing. He said, he thought maybe I should explain. So he says, No, no, actually what Swamiji wants to say, Krishna inspires him and he writes. So Prabhupada said, which rascal is saying this? I am telling Krishna has written this. And why you are interpreting? So Krishna personally comes and speaks to me, Prabhupada would tell many times. And I am just taking dictation. So whenever somebody is speaking in parampara, it is Krishna who is speaking. So therefore, Parikshit Maharaj is asking, Etad veditum ichhami tattvam tattva vidamvara Harer adbhut viryasya katha lok sumangalah Etad veditum ichhami. Oh Shukdeva Goswami, I wish to know. Tattvam, tattva vidamvara. I wish to know the truth from you because you are tattva vidam. You are the best of the knowers of truth. And therefore, please explain Harer Adbhut Viryasya. The narrations of the Supreme Lord, they are unlimited. They are very, very wonderful. And the wonderful quality of these pastimes are, they are Lok Sumangala. They can purify and make the entire world auspicious. So Bhagavatam is for everyone. It is not just for pure devotees, it is for everyone. Every conditioned soul can get benefited by hearing this Bhagavatam. Even a materialist can get benefited. If he wants to hear Bhagavatam, to get something he will get. Akama sarva kamova mokshakam. Whatever desire a person has, that will be fulfilled. If somebody wants freedom from the miseries, bahut problem hai life mein, read Bhagavatam. The problems will be solved. Sukhaya karmani karoti loko nate sukham vanya duparamam va. Vindeta bhuya tat eva dukkham yadatra uktam bhagavan vadinnaha. So that is what Vidura is telling to Maitreya. People in the world, they are suffering so much because they don't know the solution of it. How to come out of the problems, that people don't know. That is Bhagavatam. So Maitreya Muni, you please describe Bhagavatam. So that's why Parikshit Maharaj is asking, please describe this wonderful literature. And Prabhupada writes that Bhagavatam is very, very dear to devotees, should be very dear to devotees. And it is auspicious even for non-devotees. Even if somebody is not a devotee, he wants something auspicious in his life or her life, just give them Bhagavatam. That will create auspiciousness in the life of that person also. Therefore, he says, Kathayaswa Mahabhaga Yathaham Akhilatmani Krishne Niveshya Nisangam Manastyakshe Kalevaram. So he says, it is specially helpful for me because I am about to die. Kathayaswa, oh most fortunate Shukdeva Goswami, please speak. Kathayaswa Mahabhaga, so that Yatha Aham, so that I can focus my mind on Akhilatma, on the Supreme Soul, because now I am about to leave my body. Manastyakshe Kalevaram, I am about to leave my body, give up my body. I want to focus on the Supreme Lord. So actually it is not that Parikshit Maharaj needs to, hear to purify himself and to become a pure devotee. He is already a pure devotee. So this is humility of Parikshit Maharaj, that he wants to give us opportunity to hear Bhagavatam. Otherwise, we heard in the first canto, it is there. In the last chapter, when all the sages, they come, Parikshit Maharaj, what did he say? He says, I have given up all the family attachments. You please keep on reciting Dashatvalam Gayata Vishnu Gatha. He is already a pure devotee. So therefore, Parikshit Maharaj is speaking out of his humility. And Srimad Bhagavatam, this narration is incidental for Parikshit Maharaj. He doesn't need it, because his destination is always fixed. Even if Shukdeva Goswami would not have come, he would have gone to spiritual world. There is no doubt about it. But he is giving opportunity to all of us. So therefore, Prabhupada writes that to be fully engaged in hearing Bhagavatam means to constantly associate with Krishna. If we hear Bhagavatam regularly, then we are associating with Krishna. And then we will be liberated from material conditions. Krishna Surya Sam, Maya hai Andhakar. Aha Krishna, yaha nahi Maya Adhikar. And then, first few verses of this chapter. They are very, very interesting. And then the rest of the chapters is the questions of Parikshit Maharaj. So Shukdev Goswami may say, okay, what is the advantage of such hearing? You are asking me to tell. What will you get? So he says, very, very important and beautiful verse. Shrinvata Shraddhaya Nityam Grinatascha Swacheshtitam Kalena Nati Dirghena Bhagavan Vishateriti. People who hear Srimad Bhagavatam regularly, Shrinvata Nityam, and with faith, Shraddhaya. So two qualities are required: to hear regularly and with faith. So one devotee, he was in Vrindavan and he met a senior devotee. So he said, so senior devotee asked him, how many times you have read Bhagavatam? He said, I have read 3-4 times. Out of little pride, he said, 4 बार पढ़ा है. So he said, the senior devotee said, that means you have not read. नहीं Prabhuji, 4 बार पढ़ा है. So he says, senior devotee said, unless you read 15-20 times, you will not understand anything. So he was humbled. So if we keep on hearing regularly with faith, grinatascha, and this is very important word, grinatascha swacheshtitam. When you apply, grinatas means when you apply. Hearing is one thing. Shravanam, mananam, nididhyasanam. When you hear, then you contemplate, and then you apply. After that, the fourth is vandanam. You preach. So when you hear with faith and you apply and you do swacheshtitam. Swacheshtitam means intense endeavor. If you have these 4 things, then the result will be kalena nati dirghena, very quickly. Krishna will enter the heart. Somebody may say Krishna is already there in the heart. As Paramatma, he is there. Yes, he is there as Paramatma. He will manifest as Bhagavan. So Bhagavan will enter. But if you have no faith, and if you are reading Bhagavatam or hearing Bhagavatam, then you will not get the result. Bhagavad Gita says, anything you done without faith, you don't get the result. Ashraddhaya hutam dattam tapastaptam kritam chayat asad ityuchyate partha nacha tat pretyano here. 8th chapter, last verse, 26th. Krishna is saying, Ashraddhaya, without faith, if you do a sacrifice, if you give charity, you do anything, you will not get the result. So if we have no faith, then it is useless. And then Prabhupada focuses on this word swacheshtitam. He says, one should practice seriously. Krishna consciousness is called sudurlabha. Why it is sudurlabha? It is very, very rare. Why? Because of 2 reasons. One is, Krishna does not give bhakti so easily. Why he doesn't give? Why he doesn't give bhakti so easily? कम हो जाएगा बैंक अकाउंट में. No, he becomes controlled by his devotees, so he wants to make sure that this person will not abuse me. So therefore he is very, very careful. He gives only to a pure devotee. And second, because devotees, they don't endeavor enough. So that's why it is sudurlabha. Krishna will give whatever you want. You want sense gratification, take it. You want liberation, take it. Bhakti, not so easily. Krishna yadi chute bhakte bhukti mukti diya kabhu Krishna prem na den rakhe na lukaiya. Chupa ke rakhte hain Krishna prem. It doesn't give bhakti so easily. He'll give sense gratification. He'll give liberation also. But bhakti, swacheshtitam, we have to endeavor. So with our endeavor, we can reach up to the stage of nishtha. Anartha nivritti, of course, mercy of Krishna is always there. But we can reach the stage of nishtha by our own endeavors. Uske baad ruchi is awarded by Krishna. Even at the stage of nishtha, devotee doesn't have ruchi. But we can reach to that stage of nishtha. And there are various obstacles in the path to reach this stage of nishtha. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur writes in Madhurya Kadambini, there are 5 obstacles in the stage of anisthit bhajan. Nisthit bhajan, steady devotional service. Anisthit bhajan, unsteady. So first is laya. What is laya? Which will manifest in some time. You start feeling sleepy. It's obvious. We feel sleepy during japa, during hearing classes, and many times devotees, they to just wake up from the sleep, they do so many gymnastics, so many types of japa they do. One time one devotee was traveling in the train with another devotee, and morning time they were sitting, and they started chanting. So samne wale seat pe there were some other people sitting, and one devotee started chanting with all different paces. Okay. So this person, he was looking at, kya kar raha hai? So he saw for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes. After 15 minutes, he could not hold. So he told another devotee. His eyes were open. ये दूसरा वाला आंख बंद करके ऐसा अलग अलग एक्सप्रेशन में, छोड़ दो इसको यार. Leave him. Why are you torturing him? So sleep is very obvious and common, but that is the stage of anishtita bhajan. Then the next is vikshepa. Vikshepa means thinking or talking about something mundane, some mundane subject matters. This includes finding fault in devotees. अरे मालूम है क्या किया? नहीं मालूम, I'll tell. And then it will start. After 1 hour, जाने दो ना, अपने क्या करना. So to keep mouth shut in devotee community is the biggest tapasya. मुंह बंद रखना सबसे बड़ा तपस्या है. So that is a tendency, उसको बोलते हैं विक्षेप. Third is called apratipatti. So laya is not there, नींद भी नहीं आ रही है. I'm not getting distracted also. I'm not getting attracted to mundane things, but मन नहीं है. ऐसा लगता है ना? I have time also. I have nothing to do, but chanting करने का मन नहीं है. भागवतम पढ़ने का मन नहीं है. That is called as apratipatti. Then fourth is called as kashaya. Kashaya means tendency to find faults, tendency to display faults like greed, anger, all these things will be there. And fifth is rasa swad. Rasa swad means when the mind is still attached to sense pleasure. Even after hearing so many things, still mind secretly wants some sense gratification. So the person at the stage of anartha nivritti, he doesn't do sadhana because he has no taste. He is troubled by the anarthas. Person at the stage of nishtha, he does sadhana, but still he has no taste. He has not developed that spontaneous taste, Oh, next day morning, abhi 10 baj gaya. When will morning come? I will chant. That doesn't come even at the stage of nishtha. Till the time ruchi is not there, this spontaneous attraction will not come. So how to go from this stage of anartha nivritti to nishtha? Swacheshtitam. Intense endeavor is needed. So Prabhupada writes, cheap devotees or materialistic devotees, so interesting term, materialistic devotees, they are very much desirous to see the Lord personally without meeting the requisite qualifications. Such third grade devotee should know well that material attachment and seeing the Lord face to face cannot go together. So this swacheshtitam is very, very important. So that is the advantage of hearing. If you hear with faith and endeavor seriously, Bhagavan Vishate Ridhi. Okay, what is the process? How this hearing leads to remembrance? Another very, very famous and beautiful verse comes. Pravishta karna randhrena swanam bhava saroruham dhunoti shamalam krishna salilasya yathasharat. Pravishtaha, when this sound vibration enters the ear holes, karna randhrena, and then that sound vibration resides on the lotus of our heart. Swanam bhava saroruham, and manifests all the loving relationship. Dhunoti shamalam, all the contaminations in the heart of the devotee gets destroyed. Just like when the autumnal rains come, first rain cleanses of everything, all the trees and the buildings. Nobody goes and washes the trees, mountains. It gets cleansed. So someone may say, this is not so remarkable. Even if somebody takes the shelter of jnana or yoga, it happens. One gets purified. So Srila Chakravarti Thakur, he says, it happens for a small amount of water. Just like if water is there in a small jug, you put alum, and you have tried purifying the water with alum. What happens? Small jug can be purified, but if you put alum in a pond or a river, will it get purified? No. Another thing which happens is the impurities settle down. They don't go away. So the process of jnana and yoga, they just settle the impurities. They don't get cleansed off. But the process of devotional service completely purifies even the biggest of the reservoirs of all the anarthas. That is the power of devotional service. That's what Prabhupada also writes here. So in the 6th canto, it is described, if you do some sinful activity and you want to get purified, it is called as prayaschitta. There is something called as prayaschitta. It is compared with something. Anyone knows? The prayaschitta, yes, elephant bathing. Manne kunjara shauchavat. Elephant takes a bath thoroughly and then comes out and again puts the mud. It is like a elephant bathing. You do prayaschitta, but the desire is still there. So again, you do the sinful activity. The path of jnana, it also purifies, but it purifies like a forest which is burned. Next rainy season, again it will come up because the roots are still there. So therefore, only the process of devotional service will purify completely. Kechit kevalaya bhaktya vasudeva parayana agham dhunvanti kartsnena niharam iva bhaskaraha. Just like, if you have been to North India or some hilly station, there's an intense fog. But when the sun rises, fog gets dissipated completely, doesn't come up again. So bhakti purifies completely. Okay, what is the proof that the heart has become cleansed? Pure devotee ke sar pe likha rehta hai ki pure devotee hai. How will you identify? Dhautatma Purusha Krishna Padamulam na munchati Mukta sarva parikleshah Pantha swasharanam yatha. Dhautatma Purusha, the person with a pure heart, what happens to him? Krishna Padamulam na munchati. He never leaves the lotus feet of Lord Krishna. It is just like a traveler. After a long travel, when he comes back, he feels completely satisfied. Mukta sarva pariklesha, all his suffering ends because he has earned a lot of wealth and he has come to his home. Pantha swasharanam yatha. So therefore, devotees, they never leave Krishna. So that is the power of devotional service. Sei bhakta dhanya jena chhade prabhur charan. Sei prabhu dhanya jena chhade nijajan. Durdaiva sevaka yadi jayanya sthane. Sei prabhu dhanya tare chule dhariyane. Sei bhakta dhanya, that devotee is fortunate who never leaves that Krishna's lotus feet. And that God is also great who never leaves his devotees. But somehow if devotee thinks, chalo thoda maja masti karke aate hain. No, Durdeva sevaka yadi jay anya sthane. Krishna will catch hold of the shikha and bring him back. Sei prabhu dhanya tare chule dhariyane. Chule means shikha, So that is how Krishna never leaves the devotees. And I think today morning or yesterday I was just telling that a devotee is haunted by the ghost of good memories. If he wants to leave Krishna consciousness, Krishna will not allow the devotee to leave. Navay jano jatu kathanchana brajen mukund sevyanyavadanga samsritim smarana mukunda angri upaguhanam puna vihatum ichche na rasagraho jana. He will remember the good experiences in Krishna consciousness. That's why we should note down our good experiences. Aaj ye acha laga. I like this today. I went to this yatra. I like those good memories. Write down. Those notes will help us in difficult times. Maja aaya tha us time. You'll remember that. Vihatum ichhe na. He will not be able to give it up. Rasagraha, just like a person haunted by ghost, he cannot do anything on his own as per his will. So devotee is haunted by the ghost of good experiences. Rasagraha. Just like Prahlad Maharaj, it is described, he was haunted by Krishna planet. Some people, they are haunted by Rahu or Ketu or whatever. Krishna graha grihitatma naved jagadidrisham. He was haunted by Krishna planet. So that is the power of devotional service. So devotee never ever gives up. And in the path of Krishna consciousness, many times, because when we are not so strong, a devotee may leave the worship once or twice or thrice. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur writes, a devotee may give up once or twice or thrice because of his poor determination. But then what happens? He remembers the good experiences and then he repents. Oh, what have I foolishly done? I have given up Krishna. Again, he comes back. So that is the power of Krishna consciousness. Devotee can never leave the lotus feet of Krishna. So after glorifying the process of devotional service and encouraging Shukadeva Goswami, Parikshit Maharaj, he asks a series of questions. So the rest of the chapter is full of questions only. The questions of Parikshit Maharaj about karma, about jnana, about yoga. Someone may think, "Itna question kyun puch rahe hai?" Anyways, 7 days are remaining. Hear about Krishna. Why you are so much concerned about all these other different things? So Vaishnava is not just concerned about himself. He is compassionate. He wants to help everyone, even at the last moment of his life. Only 7 days are remaining, but still Parikshit Maharaj is thinking about others. Because in the assembly, there were so many other people who were sitting. Not everyone was devotee. There were some yogis, some jnanis, some karmis. So if you tell somebody who is which is his field, he gets interested, right? So if some businessman comes and sits here and you tell him, "Chalo abhi Bhagavatam sunao," so he'll not be interested. But if you tell something about his field, he'll get interested. And in between, you tell something about Krishna consciousness also, then he'll be interested. So Parikshit Maharaj asks all these questions so that Shukadeva Goswami can tell about those paths also. And in between, he will tell about Krishna also. So they will get purified. So that is the intention of Shukadeva Parikshit Maharaj in asking all these questions. So the answers to these 21 questions, Parikshit Maharaj asks 21 questions. The rest of the Bhagavatam is the answer to these 21 questions. Some are answered in Brahma Narada Samvad, some are answered in Vidura Maitreya Samvad. The entire Bhagavatam is the answer to this question. So the first question which Parikshit Maharaj asks is, how did Jiva, which is spiritual, attain a body which is material? Because they are not compatible. Material and spiritual, they can't combine. So what is the reason? Is this body produced by chance or some reason is there? So he's asking, what is the reason? So you know everything, please tell me. So Srila Prabhupada writes, Parikshit Maharaj is a typical devotee. What is typical? Is not satisfied just by hearing Bhagavatam. He wants to establish the supremacy of Bhagavatam. He wants to establish the philosophical concepts given in Bhagavatam. One should not become sentimental followers of Krishna consciousness. Acha lag raha hai jab tak tab tak I am devotee. The day I am not feeling good, I will not chant. So philosophy keeps us, rooted in Krishna consciousness. That's what Shukadeva Goswami tells in the 10th canto. He says we should regularly read scriptures. Just like in the rainy season in the forest, There is a path which is created when somebody walks regularly in non-rainy season. But in the rainy season, what happens? Nobody walks. So the path gets covered with the grasses. Marga babhuva sandigdha trinay channa ya samskrita na abhyasyamana shrutayo dujay kalena chahata. Similarly, if the devotees, they don't read regularly, their intelligence will be covered by the weeds of doubt. So regular reading is very important. It is good that we like to chant, we like to do seva. But if we are not backing our seva and sadhana with swadhyay, then it is difficult to continue with conviction. Ei lila amrit vine khaye yadi anna pane tabe bhakter durbala jivan yare ek bindu pane utfullita tanu mane hase gaye koro enartane. So Kaviraj Goswami says, if somebody is taking prasad regularly, khaye yadi anna pane pet bhar ke, but he is not reading the philosophy regularly, tabe bhaktera durbala jivan, he'll become weak. Not physically, spiritually weak. Yar ek bindu pani, if he drinks even a drop of that regularly, tastes utfullita tanumane, he'll be enlivened, he will be happy. Hase gaye koroe nartane. Prabhupada writes just 3 lines of purport there. All devotees connected with Krishna consciousness movement must read all the books that have been translated. In bracket, Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, Chaitanya Charitamrit, etc. Otherwise, after some time, they will just eat, sleep, and fall down from their spiritual position and lose the opportunity to go back to the spiritual world. So that's why Parikshit Maharaj, he is anxious to know everything, how this process began. So the first step in Krishna consciousness is to inquire. Athato Brahma Jigyasa. Not any question, just like in Kumbh Mela, one time devotees, they put a question answer booth. So one devotee, one person came and, Maharaj, haath dekhte hai kya? Many times people, they tell us, Maharaj, haath dekhte hai kya? So Prabhupada, one person came to Prabhupada also. Swamiji, haath dekhte hai? Haan, dekhte hai. So Prabhupada, arey, bahut problem hai. Kya ho gaya Maharaj, Swamiji? Janma mrityu jara vyadhi. क्या करना पड़ेगा उसके लिए? Chant Hare Krishna. Solution is same. So Parikshit Maharaj is fixed in his understanding of Krishna consciousness, but still he wants to understand and hear for the welfare of others. Keep on hearing. Even if we know, even if we understand, still we should hear. Still we should hear so that our intelligence, our mind gets completely absorbed in Krishna Katha. So in response to this question in the 9th chapter, Shukdev Goswami will tell the question is itself wrong. Then the relationship never happens. Material, body and the soul, they are never related. But we see they are related. How it is, that we'll discuss in the next class in the 9th chapter. Now the next question he asks, please explain about the form of Garbhodakshay Vishnu, Shirodakshay Vishnu and Karanodakshay Vishnu. Describe the nature of the Supreme Lord's body and the nature of a living entity's body. Are they same? Only different size may difference again. He is big and living entity small, or is there some other difference? Please tell. Because we know that when a dog gives birth to a puppy, the dog and puppy are of same category. Cat gives birth to kitten, same category. So Brahma, Lord gave birth to Brahma. Brahma ji has a material body. So Lord also has a material body. So please explain. So that's what he's asking. Please tell me about Garbhodakshay Vishnu. Because from the navel of Garbhodakshay Vishnu, Brahma ji takes birth on the lotus flower. So he asks about Garbhodakshay Vishnu. And then he asks about Shirodakshay Vishnu. He says, we also sleep and Lord also sleeps. Koi antar hai kya? Or is it that he is just a great living entity and we are small living entity? In one of the purports, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur writes, if somebody tells I am God, tell him you have to go through a sleep test. Like, yeah, sleep test. So Garbhodakshay Vishnu, he's sleeping where? He's sleeping on the bed of Ananta Shesh. You tell that person, you sleep in this room, एक छोटा सा सांप अंदर डालेंगे. Not Ananta, a small snake. आप सोते रहना. And then another test. At the end of this universe, what happens? Annihilation. So Ananta Shesha, from his mouth, fire comes out. An entire universe is burning. And Garbhodaksha Vishnu is sleeping. So you tell that person, "Aap so andar hum aag lagenge isko." Still, if he is ready to do that, then okay, he can be God. Nobody will be able to do. So he's asking, who is this Karano Daksha Vishnu or Shiro Daksha Vishnu? Khali antar size ka hai ki aur bhi kuch hai? And then he tells, please describe about Virat Rupa. In the first chapter, you described something about Virat Rupa. You describe that the various planetary systems are compared with the various bodily parts of the Lord. I want to hear more. And please tell me about Hiranya Garbha also. Some technical terms are there. What is Hiranya Garbha? Huh? Anyone knows? No. Hiranya Garbha means the aggregate of all the living entities. That is called as Hiranya Garbha. There is no such entity. It is just a philosophical concept. All the living entities combined together, they are called as Hiranya Garbha. So it will come in future more about what is Hiranya Garbha and why we are discussing that. So Parikshit Maharaj, he actually knows all that. It is not that we know all these things now after coming to Krishna consciousness 10-15 saal mein. Parikshit Maharaj born and brought up, in Krishna conscious family. He has seen Krishna in the womb of his mother. What do you think? He doesn't know? He knows everything, but still he's asking to clarify the doubts of people. And then he asks about the time. Please explain the duration of time, how people perceive time. We have heard that in the Brahma Loka, 1 second, yahan pe bahut saal nikal jate hain. Yuga also, goes by. So please tell me about time factor, how different people perceive time, and how, please tell me the lifespan of all the different species of life. So the answer will come in the 3rd canto, where Devahuti, she asked the same question to Kapila Dev. So why these questions are asked? So that we can understand the urgency. Time nahi hai apne paas. We have very less time, because time flies by. Ayur harti vai pumsam udyam astanchayannasau tasyarte kshanau nitau uttama shloka vartaya. With every rising and setting of the sun, the lifespan is decreasing. So there is no time. We cannot waste time. That's why Rupa Goswami says, Avyartha Kalatvam is a very, very important thing. Not wasting a single moment. That is the requirement in this age of distractions, age of smartphones, age of social media. It is so very easy to get distracted. So therefore, when we discuss about time, which is so very relative, in the blink of Mahavishnu's eye, or in the one breath of Mahavishnu, the entire life of Brahma is gone. Our life is so very insignificant. So we have to take the best advantage of it. So that's why all these things are described. And then he says, please describe about karma also. Because depending on the sinful and the pious activities, people, they get different reactions. Please tell me about that. So why she's asking? Because when we know this, that whatever we do in this world, we will get the reaction. So we'll be very, very careful so that we don't get entangled again. After millions of lifetimes, we have come to this process of Krishna consciousness. We do not want to lose it again. After millions of lifetimes, we have given up. We are trying to give up the service to the senses. We have done it for millions of lifetimes. But they are so ungrateful masters. They have not given us retirement. And in this world, after 50 years, 60 years, people, they give retirement. Chalo bhai, retirement. But Rupa Goswami is one of the prayers says, I have served my anarthas for many, many millions of lifetimes. Still, they have not given me retirement. On the contrary, they are giving me pain. They are giving me distress. Kamadinam katina katidha palita duranidesha Tesham jata maina karuna natrapa no pashanti. Na karuna, no compassion. Still they are torturing you. No upshanti. Utsrijya etanath yadupate sampratam labda buddhi. Now, oh my Lord, by mercy of you, I have given up the service to my senses. Please accept me. So that's why Parikshit Maharaj is asking, please tell me about karma gati. And then he asks about the creation, how various planets and oceans and the islands in this Bhumandal, they are created. The answer will be given in the fifth chapter, fifth canto, where Priyavrat Maharaj, he divides this entire Bhumandal into 7 oceans and 7 islands. And that is another technical discussion. Fifth canto, when we'll reach, I don't know, but we'll discuss that then. So he describes about that. And then he asks, please describe the dimensions of the universe, the length and breadth of the universe and the various planetary systems. I want to know everything. That is the most technical section, which only our Pavaneshwar Prabhu is expert at. And by his mercy, we have understood a little bit. Otherwise, it was all black and white. Kya hai, kuch samajhta hi nahi. It was like completely mind-boggling. But by his mercy, we have understood something. Still, lots of things are, kya bol ke gaya kuch to. Humko samajh gaya ki inko samajh gaya. So again, Prabhupada writes in the purport, Maharaj Parikshit is a typical devotee. Second time he is writing. Maharaj Parikshit is a typical devotee of Lord Krishna. And therefore he is anxious to know the complete significance of creation. So we should not become just sentimental. We should be philosophical also. Philosophy helps us, sustains us. So he writes, Prabhupada writes, it is quite fitting for a real searcher of knowledge to know all this. Those who are of opinion that devotees of the Lord are satisfied with mere sentiments, they can find lessons here. Parikshit Maharaj is asking such technical questions. So devotees are not just sentimental. They want to know the philosophy also. And then he asks about, please tell me about the various devotees, the various categories of devotees. Please tell me about Varnashram system. So again, Prabhupada writes, Maharaj Parikshit is not just satisfied with the material knowledge of the universe. He wants to know about the devotees also. So a devotee should know everything. That's why he is inquisitive about the character of great souls. What is the characteristic? How do I identify who is the great personality? And the explanation will be given in the 11th canto and the 7th canto also. 7th canto, the last few chapters describe Varnashram system in great detail. And Prabhupada will write that in. So Prabhupada writes in this purport. So the scientific division of Varnashram, it is recommended for everyone to follow so that we can serve the Supreme Lord in proper way. And he says that any person employed in government service is a part and parcel of entire government. One person cannot claim that I am the government. So all the different parts of the Varnashram, they are serving the Supreme Lord. Varnashram acharvata purushena parapuman Vishnu aradhyate pantha na anyat tattosha karanam. All the Varnashram duties are meant to serve Krishna. And then he asks about the various yugas, the duration of those yugas, what is yuga dharma, describe about the various avatars. Again, Prabhupada writes, Maharaj Parikshit is not carried by the sentiments. He does not accept anyone as God. He wants to establish who is the yuga avatar. I don't accept anyone. The next gali ye bhi Bhagwan hai, No, I want to know who is the yuga avatar for Kali Yuga, Dwapar Yuga, Treta Yuga, Satya Yuga. And 11th canto describes in great detail about the various yugas and yuga avatars. And in that, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is also described. And then he asks about sadharan dharma, common religion, vishesh dharma, and apat dharma. Sadharan dharma means, Prabhupada writes, what is sadharan dharma? Devotional service. The common religious practice for all the living entities is devotional service unto the Supreme Lord. And the Vishesh Dharma means whatever occupation one acquires according to his birth. Anybody can practice Krishna consciousness irrespective of their birth, whoever they may be. They can practice Krishna consciousness. It doesn't matter what were they in their past life or in this life. Kirat, Hunandra, Pulinda, Pulkasha, Abhira, Shumbha, Yavana, Khasadaya. These are all races, different varieties. Ye Anyecha Papa, Yadapa, Shraya, Shraya. And all the other sinful castes, Shuddhyanti Tasmai, they get purified by taking shelter of Krishna consciousness. So Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur writes that in the purport here. What is this Vishesh Dharma? Anybody can practice. And some emergency duties. And then he asks about Sankhya philosophy. Please tell about Apadharma means the emergency duties. Sometimes it is said just like in the end of the Kali Yuga, there would be nothing to eat. So in those situations, what to do? So if we cannot practice the ordinary duties, in those circumstances, there are some emergency duties. So that is also described in the 7th canto in detail. So then he describes about the Sankhya. He asks about the Sankhya philosophy. He asks what is the way to worship all the Purusha avatars, and he asks about the Yoga Mishra Bhakti. We'll not go into the detail of that. And then he asks, please describe the opulence, destination, and destruction of a yogi's body. In response to this question, Shukdev Goswami will describe about Devahuti, how she was delivered. He'll describe Prithu Maharaj. He'll describe about Dhruva, Prachetas. All these wonderful pastimes will come because of this question. About Priyavrat Maharaj, Ambarish Maharaj. How such a great devotee who was not a great yogi. Durvasa Muni Prabhupada writes in great detail in the purport about Ambarish Maharaj. But Ambarish Maharaj was an ordinary person, not a great mystic like Durvasa Muni. But still, when Durvasa Muni, he created a demon, Ambarish was just standing with folded hands. And Chakra came and he was about to kill Durvasa Muni. And Durvasa Muni went running all over the world and ultimately went to Vishnu. Save me from your weapon. Vishnu says, it is not in my control. You have offended my devotee. Sadhavo hridayam mahyam sadhunam hridayam toham madanyatyena jananti naham tepyo managavi. Devotees are in my heart and I am in the heart of my devotees. I cannot do anything. You go and ask for Ambarish Maharaj forgiveness. So all these stories will be described. And then he asks about the Vedas, Upavedas, Itihas, Puran, all these comes in the 12th canto, which we completed a few months back. And then another question he asks, how the living entities, they get liberated? Please tell me about that. What are the favorable and unfavorable practices of bhakti? So Prabhupada is such an amazing personality. If you read this verse purport, Prabhupada writes the entire various favorable and unfavorable means. He doesn't wait for Shukdev Goswami to answer. Why? Pata nahi aage padega ki nahi. Because he knows Kali Yuga people, he'll open a book. ठीक है, कुछ मजा नहीं आ रहा है, पलटते हैं, and he will come to the last chapter. So Prabhupada wants to make sure whatever purport you read, you get the essence. So it describes in detail the Atyahar, Prayas, all the NY verses he explains there. Atyahar, Prayas, Utsaha, Nishchay, Dhairya, Anukulasya Sankalpa, Pratikulasya Varjanam, this human form. Well, somebody may say, kidhar hai ye sab? Question to ek hi line ka hai. And purport is like huge. So he says human form of life is meant for self-realization, and then he describes in detail do's and don'ts. You follow this, and then he says one should not do prajalpa also. Everything he gives in that purport. If you read that one purport, that is sufficient for a newcomer to get the understanding of what is Krishna consciousness. And then he says one should earn his livelihood nicely, honestly. It is better to be a coolie and earn the livelihood nicely, then to become a billionaire by hook or crook. Itna matlab, everything he writes. Then he says, there is no harm if somebody becomes richest, but one should not sacrifice the honest means of living. So that he describes everything. And then the next question which Parikshit Maharaj asks is, please describe the rules of Vedas and please describe about dharma, artha, kama, and all that. And then in the last, I think this is the last, no, second last. So he asks, please describe how the jivas, they appear after pralay. You know what happens after pralay? All the jivas, they enter into the body of Mahavishnu and they stay there in a dormant sleeping stage. And then when the next creation happens, they are again put into the material world. So he wants to know about everything. He wants to know about the heretics or the pashandis, those who don't follow the dharma. That is described by quoting the pastime of Prithu Maharaj. We all know when Indra, he dressed himself as a, what is that, Kapalik sannyasi, and he stole the horse, and all that will be described. Wants to know about Nitya Siddha devotee. So Shukadeva Goswami describes about Uddhavaji. He describes about Nanda, Yashoda. He describes gopis, all that. And then he describes the last question. He asks how the Lord performs his Leela using Yog Maya and then disappears without any attachment. So this is answered in Chatushloki Bhagavad Gita, that we'll discuss, Chatushloki Bhagavatam, that we'll discuss next time. And after describing all that, Parikshit Maharaj says something interesting. He says, I have asked you a few questions. You tell me that जो नहीं पूछा है वो भी बताओ. सर्वम एतच्च भगवान पृच्छतो में अनुपुरुष. जो बताया है वो भी, जो पूछा है, you tell me that, नहीं पूछा है वो भी बताओ. Sarvam, I want to know everything. So please instruct me because I am surrendered to you. So Prabhupada focuses on this word surrender. And Shukadeva Goswami may ask, but previously you have understood all this from other sages also. Dobara kyun puch rahe? Why are you asking me again? So Parikshit Maharaj says, no. Among all the sages, you are most authoritative. You are as good as Brahma. I want to know everything from you. So Shukadeva Goswami may say, इतना सारा question पूछा है, थोड़ा प्रसाद लेके आ जाओ. Get some food. And then we will discuss. He says, no. Name asva parayanti. Brahman anashanadami. Pibato achyuta piyusham. Tadvakyabdi vinistritam. Oh Brahmana, don't think that I am exhausted and thirsty. Name asava parayanti. Don't think I am thirsty because I am fasting. Why? Pibato achyuta piyusham. I am drinking the nectar of Hari Katha from your mouth. So this is the second canto. He speaks the exact same thing in the 10th canto also. Naeta naeshati dussaha kshanmam tyaktodam api badhate pibantam tvanmukham bhoja chutam Hari Kathamritam. Exact same verse. Na esha ati dussaha, that which is most difficult to tolerate. Hunger and thirst. These are not troubling me because I am drinking the nectar from your mouth. So that is the glory of Parikshit Maharaj. He is completely transcendental. So he is asking these questions with complete faith. You can answer. That was the same mood Arjuna was in the beginning of Bhagavad Gita. When Arjuna asks Krishna, please dispel my doubt. Arjuna says, why are you asking me? I am your friend. Ask Vyasdev. Ask all the sages. He said, nobody else, only you. Only you can dispel my doubt, nobody else. Nahi prapashyami mamapnudya yaschokamuchoshanam indriyanam avapya bhumau asapatnam riddham rajyam suranam vichadipatyam. Nahi prapashyami. I don't see anybody else, only you can dispel my doubts. So Prabhupada writes, two things are required. Surrender to Guru and have full faith in him. That is what Shukadeva Goswami, Parikshit Maharaj is showing here. And therefore, he becomes very happy, hearing all these questions, very pleased. And then he begins to reply by reciting the Bhagavatam. Praha Bhagavatam Nama Puranam Brahma Samhitam. He described Srimad Bhagavatam in answer to the questions of Parikshit Maharaj. So that is the end of this chapter. I will stop here. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Any questions? Yes.
So even Vasudev and Devaki, though they are not in Goloka Vrindavan, but they are also Nitya Siddhas.
Yes, they are all Nitya Siddhas. So Devaki, the question is Devaki, Vasudev, they are not mentioned here. Yeah, they are not mentioned because just a few people are mentioned. They are all Nitya Siddhas. Prabhupada writes there are Nitya Siddhas and Nitya Baddhas. In Nitya Baddha, there are two categories: those who are faithful and those who are faithless, infidel. In the faithful, there are two categories: those who are devotees and those who are jnanis. And Nitya Siddhas are, of course, pure devotees who are there in the spiritual world. So all the devotees in the spiritual world, they are Nitya Siddha.
Because when they came as Vrishni and all those incarnations also, so they are also like they are basically Vasudeva and Devaki, but they came as a various incarnations. They came as Vrishni and then
Dhara and Drona.
yeah.
So whenever the Lord incarnates, he doesn't come alone. He comes with his all the entourage, just like Prime Minister doesn't go alone. So whenever the Lord's father or mother, they appear in this world, some of the living entities of this world, they enter in the body of these Nitya Siddhas. So there are two people in one incarnation, just like who is Advaita Acharya, he is incarnation of Mahavishnu also and Sadashiva also. Similarly, all the great devotees of the Lord, when they appear in this world, they have two people, a Devata portion and a Nitya Siddha portion. So in the Maushala Leela, when Krishna wanted to take all the devotees back to the spiritual world, so all the Devatas portion, they went to the heaven, and the Nitya Siddhas, they went to the spiritual world. So it is said that only the Devata portions went to this Prabhas and they were killed. The Nitya Siddha remained in Dwarka invisibly, and then they went back to the spiritual world. They are taken by Krishna. So like that. Okay. Yes, Mataji. So just a minute. Those are online. You can also ask. We can hear you. Yes.
Stage in our bhakti, that will go on for how many years we've been Krishna conscious. So I mean, in the stage of unadmitting, like if you're chanting, definitely we do have distractions, like the lockdown was web series and things like that. So does it chanting mean any benefit of when we even chanting in the stage of unadmitting?
Chanting will give any benefit?
Yeah, will that chanting give any benefit? To say somebody is in the stage of unadmitting and
chanting is the only thing which will give benefit. There is no other way to purify our mind. So the question is, when we are in this Anartha Nivritti stage, Anartha Nivritti, how it will happen? When we chant. If we are not chanting, then Anartha Nivritti will not happen. So the process is keep on hearing. If we chant and we hear. So four things are required: posture, pace, pronunciation, and prayerful mood. These four things have to be taken into consideration. How we sit and chant, posture, and you can, chanting is independent of all the external considerations. Bolega main so ke jab karta hu. Already it is conducive for sleeping. One time one devotee, he gave class in one of the bases, and he said, when you chant, Krishna stands and hears you. And if you heard that, and when you dance, then Krishna goes into ecstasy. So when you walk and chant, Krishna dances, and when you dance, Krishna goes into ecstasy. So after the class, one devotee was lying down and chanting. Abhi class mein suna, abhi sharam. Thoda to sharam kar. Nahi, Prabhuji, you are not understanding. Bhav nahi samajh rahe aap. Prabhuji ne kya bola? When you sit and chant, Krishna stands. Krishna को क्यों टेंशन देने का? मैं सो के जब करूँगा बैठेंगे तो So posture is important, pace is important. At what speed we are chanting. Rajdhani bhi nahi chalana hai, and passenger bhi nahi. Some people they chant, they take 15 minutes to chant one round. बोले कौन सा मंत्र जप कर रहा है भाई? अरे एक्सटेसी में गया लगता है. और इतना तेज जप करते हैं कि just like bumblebee, मतलब कुछ तो गुनगुना रहा है. So you should be audible so that you can hear. It takes around 7-8 minutes max. 10 मिनट बहुत हो गया. कितना meditation करेंगे? Just chant and hear. So posture is important, pace is important, pronunciation, right pronunciation. Some people they manifest so many other mantras. Ale kutna. So we have to be really very very clear in our pronunciation. Chant Hare Krishna. कुछ लोग सिटी में बजाते हैं. वो सब भी नहीं करना है. The posture, pace, pronunciation, and prayerful mood. You have to be prayerful. That is the only thing which will purify our heart. Pravishta karna randhrena swanam bhava saroruham dhunoti shamalam. When we hear, then the heart will be purified. Sunenge nahi to heart will not get purified. Bahujanma kore yadi shravana kirtan tabutana paye Krishna pade prematha. If you don't hear, even if you chant for millions of lifetimes, kuch nahi hoga. So chanting is the only way. Yes, Prabhuji.
You mentioned about pronunciation, then it is Krishna or Krishna?
Oh, that is the detail, Krishna is bhavagrahi, wo samajh jati.
Because of mistake.
That's okay. Yeah, that's okay. Because many times we feel sleepy. I can tell about myself. I have to get up after 1 hour. So it is needed. Many times we don't practice staying awake during chanting. We tune our mind. Abhi haath mein bead bag liya na, suna hai abhi. We have trained our mind in this way for many years, unconsciously. हाथ में bead bag लिया मतलब अभी इसको सुना है. So unconsciously, आराम से पता भी नहीं चलता है when he is traveling to other planets. And if you remind him, बोले कहाँ सो रहा था मैं तो एकदम अच्छे से जप कर रहा था. And he will become angry. Sometimes it happens. Devotees become angry. तुम सो रहा होगा. मैं तो attentively जप कर रहा था. One devotee, one time he was chanting, and another devotee, he was just pacing back and forth. बोले क्या हो गया इतना क्यों घूम रहा है, बैठ के जप करना चाहिए. So after class he asked, क्या हो गया प्रभुजी, why was moving around? He said, मैं बताऊं क्या आपको? He said, हाँ बताओ ना. प्रभुजी, when you chant na, you don't pronounce full mantra. Hare Krishna, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Not so much, but he said, नहीं ऐसा कैसे, मैं पूरा मंत्र बोलता हूँ. He said, प्रभुजी, when I was moving na, I was recording your chanting. उसको सुना है. बोला मेरा है ही नहीं. So whatever it takes, we have to be awake, we have to chant properly. It takes time.
Prabhuji, is there any importance of chanting during Brahma?
Yes, of course. There is some esoteric explanation somebody gave. During Brahma Muhurat, all the devatas are there in the heaven skies. Chanting kar raha hai devotee. They start discussing. Kare malum hai kya? On the earth, somebody is chanting. And then Narad Muni comes and he is chanting kar raha hai kaun? Acha wo devotee. Then he goes to Vaikuntha and aapka koi devotee chanting kar raha hai. That somebody gave a esoteric reason. But basically in the Brahma Muhurat, when we have very less thoughts, it is easy to focus. Whole night, whole day went by, इसको गाली दिया, उसको बोला, और फिर हरे कृष्णा, what we will remember? वही दिन भर जो किया है, रात को 10 बज गए और 10 माला बची है, तो क्या होगा फिर? ऐसा ही होगा. याद है कौन मेरे को हाथ में माला कौन दी, मैं ये सोच रहा हूँ, डिवोटी कौन बनाया मेरे को. ऑलरेडी जीवन में इतना प्रॉब्लम था और ऐड किया. So better to chant in the morning, so it is easy to focus. And it takes long time to chant attentively. ये तो चैंटिंग सेमिनार नहीं था, ये भागवतम क्लास था, चैंटिंग सेमिनार हो गया. Any thoughts? Any other questions? Any comments? Or online, there are a few devotees if you have some questions.
Not necessarily strong, but we read the Bhagavatam, we chant on a daily basis, but they're very harsh with their words. The talking, tone of talking can be harsh, usage of words are harsh. Sometimes it can be very hurtful.
Yeah.
And then they say, oh, we are chanting, we are doing this, we are doing that, you're wrong.
When we deal with, because we are not in a movement of pure devotees, Paramhamsons के society में नहीं है, we are in the movement of struggling sadhakas. Anybody who comes, they come with a baggage of their previous karma, previous conditionings. So we can't expect that people, when they enter, pure devotee, externally, मतलब temple में enter करते हैं तो devotees behaviors completely change. प्रभु जी मैं तो दासानुदास हूँ, और बाहर निकला कि मतलब अलग ही रूप. So one time Shiksha Ashtakam Prabhu was telling that they were traveling in train, and some vendor, he came and he started speaking roughly. So one devotee, very मतलब sadhu ekdam shant devotee, he went out and he gave all his dictionary पहले वाला सुनाया उसको. Full vocabulary download, and Shiksha was shocked. अंदर तो एकदम साधु दिख रहा था. He said, Prabhuji, मेरा पहले वाला dictionary था, टेंशन मत लो. So it is there, we have all these anarthas, conditionings. We cannot expect that people, they come and start chanting and they'll be completely transformed. But Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur writes that every devotee has a primary lakshan and a secondary lakshan. Swarup lakshan and tatastha lakshan of a devotee. The primary characteristic of a devotee is his chanting. That should be given prominence. Secondary character is all his conditionings. So just the fact that he is chanting, we should give him respect. But if he is not so very gentle in his behavior, he is a kanishtha, we should maintain a distance, but never be disrespectful to the devotees. Because they are very rare souls. Bahunam janmanam ante jnanavan amprapatyate. Manushyanam sahasreshu kaschidyati. Very rare souls, they come to Krishna consciousness, they will get purified. Krishna says, Shipram bhavati apichet suduracharo. Durachar bhi nahi, sudurachar. If he is chanting, he'll get purified. When? That is between him and Krishna. We should maintain distance so that we can practice with a peaceful mind. Otherwise, we will keep thinking, kitna no like devotee ho ke aisa bolta hai koi? But अच्छे से बोलते हैं, बाहर वाले devotees, बाहर वाले other people are better. And if you have this experience, बाहर वाले लोग अच्छा व्यवहार करते हैं, ये कैसा बोल रहा है देखो, whatever may be the case, but because he's chanting, just give him respect for that, but don't associate with that devotee. That's it. We have to keep a safe distance so that we don't offend them. Although it is difficult, I know, but that is what we are. We have to train ourselves. दूर रहो. ये devotee behavior अच्छा नहीं है, दूर रहो. Associate with that who is having good quality. Madhyam adhikari, associate with them. Uttam adhikari, serve them. Kanishta adhikari, give them your association. Don't take their association. Stay away when they are speaking something wrong. Ishvare tadadineshu balisheshu drishatsucha prema maitri kripa upeksha yah karoti samadhyama. So you have to work at the madhyam adhikari level. 4 types of dealings with 4 types of people. Love Krishna, prema, love Krishna, make friends with devotees, Kripa, show mercy to the innocent, and neglect the envious. So that's how we have to understand. Okay. Okay, so thank you very much. Hare Krishna, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Granthra Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. So next week, I think next 2 weeks we won't be having class. I'm not here. So we'll meet on 8th, whatever, after 2 weeks. We'll put on the group. Hare Krishna. Thank you. So you all can go and tell वो ये program के लिए प्रसाद रखा है. So they'll give. Thank you. Yes.